Hello, everyone. Mike here with,
Holly.
and welcome to another virtual meetup that's likely going to be nothing but a physical meetup between me and her. But you know what? That's probably our fault for not marketing this thing at all. But whatever. Should have a fun time, and hopefully the kids do what they said they were going to do, because that's super important for everybody. Okay,
We could hope.
so we're going to give it a couple minutes here and see if anybody actually joins. So I don't know if I should do this or not. I was going to play a +1, but I'm looking at it and it says premium, so I don't think I'm going to share it. I'm not going to give away free optimized content. Exactly. I'm not worth a whole lot. You shouldn't say that about yourself.
No.
I'm worth an absolute crap ton. All right. But so is optimized. They're worth a lot too. And I'm not going to give away their content for free. I'll give away my time.
There you go.
I'm fantastic. Holly's fantastic. We're worth everything.
We're just not going to steal.
Yeah, correct, right? No plagiarizing or stealing other people's content. I could have just played Brian and then somehow muted it and just like voiced over it. I'm pretty sure people would have
Or
picked
next
it
time
up.
we could just ask them, hey, do you mind if we play this +1? It would go great with what we're talking about when we do our virtual meetup.
That sounds like work. I don't know.
I will do the
Yeah,
work.
we could do that. We could do that. Why not? Okay. So we're going to try to do a little bit of a breathes here and see how it goes. So when you're doing these things, you can be standing, you can be sitting, eyes open, eyes closed, whatever feels good to you. So here's the thing. We're going to sync our breaths, and I'll try to maintain that for everybody. So breathe in through your nose for a count of 6 down into your belly. On 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Inhale and energize. Feel that energy growing inside of you. Exhale and allow that energy to fill your entire body. Inhale, feeling tall, telos. Pull the thread to the top of your head and aim your life force like an archer taking aim at a target. Now you're going to exhale, heroic heart. Chest up, chin down. Feel the love growing in your heart and give it to the world. Inhale, eudaimon. See that best version of you. Be that best version. And exhale with a smile.
I tried.
I don't think I was anywhere close, right? Unless I'm going to sit there with a beat track and practice this thing,
Yeah,
which I should. I should. But anyways, breathing is a fantastic way to bring you back into the moment, right? Because outside of anything, any tool that you have, I honestly think breath is one of the single greatest tools you can have in your repertoire of overcoming things.
Right. It makes you stop and slow down.
Yeah. You can overcome that fight or flight, get out of the physicality that your body's trying to force upon you, right? You can have all these tools in your mind, but if your body fills your cells with adrenaline, drains the blood from your head, puts it in your stomach, you're in a protection mode. Now, that's kind of ironic. I'm going to sidetrack here a little bit. That's really ironic because in the health world, they're starting to realize that the stomach is basically the second brain.
Right.
But even crazier, that second brain sends 7 times more information up to the brain than it receives.
Wow. I didn't know that part.
So when you work through this whole fight or flight thing, what's the actual brain? If fight or flight drains blood from your head, puts it down into your belly.
Well, that's where you come in with the whole, when people say follow your gut instinct.
Yeah, you can make that connection too. I just think it's ironic. But yeah, breathing can overcome that whole thing, and it doesn't matter what brain is controlling you or your body or your decisions. Breathing can help level the field, bring you back to reality, and give you that moment to really check into where you're currently at, decide where you want to go, and then move. Pause, plan, execute. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's that. So how has your week of optimizing been?
I'd say it's been pretty good. And I need to just suck it up and do on like regular line paper doing my carpe diems. I haven't had them for the last 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they haven't been printed out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the last 3 days have been wonky. But before that, it was great. I was on track and I was on roll.
So were they wonky because you didn't have the sheets, or were they wonky because you didn't?
I didn't do the work.
Oh.
And I didn't do the work because I didn't have the sheets, but everybody can come up with an excuse. Like I said, I should have just did it on line paper.
Yeah, you could have put it in your journal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really break it down to just 3 lines.
Yeah.
Or 6. You know, you can do it whatever way you want. But
yeah, your identity, work, love,
mm-hmm.
and then your virtues.
Yeah, you could break it down, but
yeah, no, I don't know.
It's okay not to do it.
I fell off the wagon. It happens. It happens. The main thing is that you accept it, you learn from it, and you try your hardest to get back on track and to continue to stay on track. So we all have moments of.
It's just data.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, for me, it's not just data. For me, it really does keep me grounded in what I need to do. It really is like my itinerary, I guess, is what I also use it for. I've been especially relying on it lately because of the constant schedule revisions that I've had to do, because now the kids are starting to do online schooling through the schools district where they do Google Hangouts with their teachers at certain times, and then with just the teachers one-on-one. And they have assignments that need to be due on different times, and I'm trying to get everything organized and put together for them so they can get what they need to get done, and I can still get what I need to get done. So it's been a challenge. This whole week has been a challenge, to be honest. It's been a big time puzzle, and I'm trying to get all the pieces put together.
So how are you viewing that challenge? Are you actually viewing it? Yeah, I'm just going to say, how are you viewing that challenge?
I've been viewing it as an obstacle, and as obstacles, I like to just hit the floor running with it, and just work through it.
So is it a positive challenge or is it a negative challenge for you?
I'm trying to see it as a positive challenge. It's very easy to get into negativity. So whenever I start finding myself getting into a negative spot, for instance, I had a teacher who came out and who said, I can create a schedule for your kids. And I was like, whoa, okay. I did take a couple deep breaths before I responded to that message, because I understand that the teachers are trying to get the kids to go above the minimum requirements to keep the kids on an actual school day schedule. But what they don't understand, well, this one in particular didn't seem to understand, was we have a life as well. And I have a life as well. I'm also doing schooling online. I'm part of the Optimized coaching program. I've got a lot of things that I have to get done as well. And so it's not just me being teacher from 8:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. I have stuff I have to get done personally as well.
Yeah.
So I took a couple really deep breaths, try to not take it so personally, and just respectfully explain, I've got one device as of right now to try to create a schedule for all three of the kids to meet up with their teachers and get the required assignments done.
Yeah.
And it was, those couple breaths got me to step between stimulus and response, because I instantly felt like enraged. I was like, how dare this person have the audacity to come up and challenge, saying, well, how I took it was, you haven't gotten it figured out in 2 days, so I'll just do the schedule for you. Even though our three kids aren't even with the same teacher, they're in different levels. And I was just like, she's a newer teacher and she's still kind of learning some boundaries, I guess. And so I just respectfully set those boundaries and let her know we have a lot of things going on in our lives. We've got more than just the three kids here that need to get schoolwork done. And there are other things in our lives that need to get done as well. So thank you, but I've got this.
Okay. Well, in all honesty, she was probably just trying to help.
Yeah.
So you got to realize that this frustration that you outlined of my life's changing, there's a new schedule, all this stuff, she was taking a layer of that away and just saying, hey, try that.
Yeah.
But you took that as a threat or something, right?
Not as a threat, just an overstep. Kind of one of those things where sometimes you can you're trying to be helpful, but you're actually being more rude and
Oh,
overstepping type thing. Like, I don't know, saying she can create a schedule for all three of our kids. It's like,
well, she's got
they're fourth
personal
grade, third grade,
experience.
and kindergarten. You have no clue what each teacher is expecting, because they're all expecting different things. Like Colin, he meets with his teacher 5 days a week. One day he meets with her twice, and then Dean, he only meets with his teacher as of right now once a week, and then specialists are going to be coming in, so we'll have to revise that as well. But Merida, she meets with her teacher 2 times a week, so it's just kind of a, yeah, for me it was just a big overstep. Like, I don't have a life outside of, or our family doesn't have other things going outside of the school.
Okay. Well, outside of that, what have you actually learned from it?
I learned that patience is going to be a big thing during this time. And I've talked to the teachers and I've explained, and only I've had to explain it to one teacher. Everybody else is just like, hey, you know what? We're right there with you. We're trying to get things figured out as we go as well. We're patient with you. Please be patient with us. And you know, we're going until June 19th, so it might take a week or two to get everything smoothed out, but we've got this, and let's do this together. That teamwork is more of what is going to help this out. And so for those who are just focusing on getting it done right now and getting schedules down right now is just trying to absorb them into the team and saying, hey, how about we work together, and finding the balance between those who are like the true just go-getters. They have nothing else going on right now. They're single. They're just a married couple, no kids or anything. And so they have all the time in the world to just focus on it, towards other people who are just like, you know what, we've got our kids going on here too. We completely get it. So it's just trying to be respectful and mindful that we're all in different situations and different stages in our lives. And so that's going to play a part in how we communicate with each other and how we view the situations, and to just be mindful of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
what else you learned outside of patience?
Taking that moment. It's always good to take that moment to take a few breaths and step outside of stimulants and response, because the way that you feel about something might not necessarily be how you're truly feeling about it. You might be like, for instance, I've gone through a whole bunch of emotions over the last month. And so I can be sensitive in situations that I wouldn't typically be sensitive on a regular day. So taking that breath and kind of just checking in with myself and saying, why is this really bothering you? Is it that big of a deal? And if it's not, saying, okay, you're okay. You've got this. Don't overreact. Don't overrespond. Remember to be respectful, mindful, and considerate.
Mm-hmm. Good. Got anything else?
No. As of right now, no.
So that's Holly's perspective on this week. I've got a bit of a different perspective. I think something like this is a fantastic opportunity to take what's important to you and integrate it with something else. So like Ollie said, they have now scheduled times to meet. So Holly was shopping on Friday, and therefore it was my turn to give it a go with them. And my approach to this whole thing is, okay, This is an opportunity for a couple things. Number one, when you want to do something and you want to do it well, you set a time and a place to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to learn really well, set a specific time and a place. So at 11:30, our oldest boy Colin is at this desk with his laptop separated from the rest of the family. That way he can focus, he can learn, he's here. Which brings me to point number 2. This is training them on how to focus. And that focus will translate to so many other things in their life. So you're teaching them now, if you want to learn effectively, set a time and a place. Limit the time that you do it to 20 to 25 minutes. And then have the discipline to focus. And I had a wonderful moment with our oldest son on Friday because I checked his schedule. And I go, okay, at 11:30, he's got a meeting with his class. At 12 o'clock, he's got a
One-on-one
meeting with his science teacher. And so at 11:30, he was good to go. He did fantastic, logging in, getting on with his class, doing his thing. And he came out at about 11:45
I'll be back.
and said, hey, I'm done. I go, oh, okay. I go, I thought you had a science thing at 12. And his comment to me was, no, we don't. And so he goes, can I play a game? I go, if you're completed with all of your responsibilities for school, absolutely, you've done great today. So he hopped on a game. And then at 12:30, he goes, oh, hey, I forgot I had a science thing at 12. And so I looked at him and I go, hey, you told me that you didn't. I go, so if you get on the next time, you're going to have to tell folks that I made a conscious choice not to attend this class, which rolls me back into my teaching of what I'm trying to teach them is personal responsibility.
Which I'll get the backlash for.
You need to be aware. If you're going to get backlash and you're afraid of the backlash.
I'm not afraid of it. I'll take it on, but.
Well, that honestly, if you're worried about that, if that's your worry, why don't you lay out what happens to people when they lose a parental figure? Why don't you take a look at when children's sleep go to hell, their eating habits go to hell, when everything goes to hell is when they don't have somebody there directing them.
Yeah.
And it goes to hell because there wasn't a level of self-responsibility, self-discipline, self-efficacy, I'm teaching them that their self dictates their future. It's on them. Their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and what they do is on them. You know, like for instance, I can hear the kids in the background ramping up.
Yeah.
And they're taking advantage of these situations. So it's frustrating, but at the same time, we get to have a conversation of, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this more and more and more, where the kids will like say, hey, I want to turn this music on that affects the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole family says, hey, we really don't want it. My response to them is, you know, the whole family doesn't want to listen to that right now, but it's your choice of what you do. And they'll make their choice. and then I can have a conversation of, hey, look, this is what happened. Why did that happen? And then you get to have a conversation of exactly what went on. And yep, it's absurdly frustrating at times, but what it's doing is building a level of self-awareness
Yeah. And
that
responsibility.
in the long run is going to be so much better than whatever annoyance, mess, or destruction occurs in the moment.
Yeah. It's also a good way of teaching them um, problem solving.
Correct. Got a
So,
problem? Solve it, bro.
so what could you have done differently? You wanted to listen to your music. The family didn't want to have to hear the same CD for the 15th time in 3 days. So, what could you do different so you could listen to it? We got plenty of headphones around the house, you know, things like that should just kind of instantly pop into their mind
But they
for
don't.
problem solving.
Right.
Well, but they'll get it, you know, it's building those tools, and it's going to take time and patience and consistency on both of our parts. But a big part of it is, you know, they've gone from one environment to a completely different environment. You know, at school they did have somebody that was keeping them on track. They had bells, they had, for, you know, times they knew that one bell meant recess, another bell meant it's time to go to lunch. They had timers set off in the classroom reminding them, hey, we have specialists to go to. And so it's, and they had teachers that they had to sit there. Like, they were all in a classroom, they were all in one room, everybody did everything at the exact same time. And now it's just completely different. They lost a lot of that routine and structure that they were so used to and connected to learning. So now they're having to change that and learn how to adapt to the new norm.
Correct. And
So,
what's the new norm?
well, as of right now, it's getting new to a completely new structure and completely new schedule, and they're having to be more personally responsible to make sure that they're getting what they need to get done at the time that they need to do it. It's almost like they're being put into college. You know, in college we don't have bells or anything. We just kind of have, you know, we keep track of our time. And especially if you're living outside of like the dorms or something, you're not in like the school structure, you're like, oh crap, I have to be at class at such and time, that means I gotta leave by this time. You got to be more organized and structured and disciplined. And I think that's a big part that the school kind of halfway fails at, is getting the kids to be a little more self-disciplined and responsible. So they're going from all of that structure of somebody going behind them going, you got to do this, and here's the time, we got to do it now, wrap it up, you got 5 minutes, here's a 5 minutes warning, if you don't do it, you're going to miss recess time. You know, there's no flexibility into it whatsoever. And here, there's some flexibility, and there's definitely bigger spans of learning time on and learning time off. And so, yeah, this would be a great time to get them to learn that self-discipline and responsibility of, especially for Colin, who's 11, you know, he should be able to look at the clock and say, hey, you know what, it's 11:45. I have 15 minutes before I have to get on with my science teacher. So I need to do this to prepare for it and get on and do it. And I get that that's what you're trying to teach them. I just still get a little irritated, not with you or the way that we're trying to teach the kids to be more responsible and self-disciplined, but with the flashback that I get. It's like, I get it, but you got to understand.
Well, in my opinion, direct them my way, because it's not hard to say, this is what I care about with my child. I'm going to let everybody know that their educational success is very low on my list, because you know why? You're going to excel in a subject that matters to you. Now, I love the fact that they're home. If I had the opportunity, I'd be home and I'd be the director of their structure. That's it. Like, you nailed it. Schools do not teach them the skills to survive
life skills
in the world.
The basic life skills.
They teach them skills, and they teach them knowledge, and they teach them tools of how to interact with the world. But there's a whole other set of things that aren't taught. Like, for instance, Optimize. There are our priorities, our fundamentals are this: eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, being present, being grateful, and prospering. How many of those were actually taught when you went through school? I mean, PE and homework,
I was gonna say
covered
movement.
moving, but we were never taught you need to breathe through your nose.
No.
We were never taught that sleep is an utter fundamental. Now, I'm also going through the Czech Institute and their holistic health coach, and this is their core principles. It's thinking. The thoughts that you think create your world. It's breathing, yet again, through the nose. It's drinking water. It's eating organic food. It's moving, and then it's sleeping. Like, these things are not highlighted in school because, in all intents and purposes, that's not their priority.
Yeah.
Right? What's our priority? Like, what's our tagline for raising our children?
To be a good soul.
So, to be a good soul, or to live a life of virtue, which is what Optimize is, none of that is really covered. So when you leave this structured system without a clear picture of who you are, what you're going to do in this world, you're eventually going to hit a point to where you're either going to succeed or you're going to bomb. And even if you are succeeding, are you on the path that's going to allow you to avoid a midlife crisis? You're going to wake up when you're 35 to 40 years and say, yep, I love my life. This is where I want to be. I'm going exactly where I'm going. Or are you going to wake up and say, I hate my job. I hate my life. I'm in debt. I'm depressed. I'm fat. I hate to say it, world, but you're really gearing people towards that second group that has no idea what they are, completely disconnected from spirituality, completely disconnected from the reality of their body and the world they're living in. And they're going to go through this.
Yeah.
So I get it. School has an absolute functionality. And the teachers are fantastic at what they do. You just got to take a step back and say, what's the priority?
Yeah.
If the priority for a teacher is maintaining their kids so that they can effectively learn and achieve, the goals that they're after,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be completely different compared to the mindful parent or the parent at home who's like, you know what? I really don't care if my kid knows the answer to 25 times 13 because this little device in my hand, you can punch it in there and give you the answer.
Yeah.
That's not a skill anymore. That's translatable to life. It's gone. Even handwriting. You've noticed that handwriting's going out the window.
Well, they haven't. That's one of the things that's been like the biggest mind blowing to me is, we're a couple teachers are just, you gotta do this is this and this. This is the minimum requirements, but for the school district, but this is my requirement. But yet I was completely shocked to learn that my third grader was still not learning how to spell. Oh, they have autocorrect. Autocorrect. And I'm like, why are they using computers for this? Oh, well, this is just where we're at now. We're all about the new technology, and our kids are growing up in a world of technology, and we're implementing it into the school districts and teaching them how to use it. And I'm just like, so you're going kind of backwards?
But they're actually going forward. That is one thing that I can say the school is recognized.
Yes, but
Because,
now that we're
okay,
in like the technology, like they still, it's funny because the third grade, you'd think that by now they'd be able to spell the word like or laugh, but they can't. There's a lot of like some of the words that have been misspelled are just completely like, really, how did you not know how to spell that word? And it's because they go off of the computers and autocorrect. But when they do have them do the writing on actual pen to paper, they talk about how they don't understand punctuation and grammar. Well, no, you haven't taught them that. You've taught them how to do autocorrect, how to do it on the computer. So how are they going to ever learn this skill if you're not actually teaching them firsthand? They're doing things backwards to me.
Yeah, but
to me, they should have been teaching them how to spell, the proper punctuation and grammar, instead of instantly doing it on the computer. Because now you're having to retrain them. They've thought that like didn't have to have an E at the end. They're losing they're being taught how to spell wrong for so long, and now they have to go back and they have to learn how to actually spell, as opposed to what they thought it was. It's retraining them. And so for me, it was just like they're gone completely backwards on it. And it's just so frustrating because I get told, oh, your kid's behind in this, and this. And it's like, well, duh. You told them that, don't worry about that right now. It's on autocorrect. Yeah. So yeah, it's not surprising that my 11-year-old is having issues in writing and in spelling, because he's never had to actually practice it before.
Well, that highlights one of the challenges of the school system, right? They're constantly having to reevaluate and readjust to the children that are coming in, what they're learning, and how they're going out. So I can understand the frustration with the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's real easy for me to sit here and be like, okay, hey kids, what do you want to do? Well, I want to build things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what kind of math is involved in what you want to build?
Mm-hmm.
Um, a tape measure, you know,
Yeah.
maybe some areas, depending on how crazy you're gonna get. That's realistically the only true math that you need. I remember last year in school when I was going through that graphing math course, and it was so absurdly frustrating because it took for frickin' ever,
Mm-hmm.
and it has zero applicability to my life.
Yeah.
When I look back at last year in the summer when I had to sit there for hours and do this crap, that's literally what I was contemplating. What am I even in school for? Like,
Yeah.
this is so stupid to me. This is such a waste of my time. I'm losing out on my family. This, that, and the other thing. And if you
Mm-hmm.
go on to Optimize Coach, you'll see a question around June where I showed up on the call of like, like, I was so stretched so far, and part of that stretch was because I was doing crap that I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I hear it from the kids as they do their reading and they do their math. They're like, "This is so boring," but they don't care. They want to see the numbers, right? Even though they're in here, so I get a laugh at them and say, "Okay, you know, what can this teach you? Like, what are you teaching? You may be in here, it may suck, but what can it teach you?"
Mm-hmm.
And so we've covered in my time here, you know, this is training your focus.
Yes.
This is training your ability to reframe, reshape. It just the last time yesterday when our oldest was reading, he was just like, "This is so boring." And I was like, okay, well, does this bring up a level of appreciation for difficulty? Like, is
Yeah.
boring, simple stuff entertaining? No, you need to be challenged.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you feel like this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so it is fantastic. And that's really the approach that I've taken is what can this situation do to my life right now that's going to meet the needs of them in the future and our family. And
yeah.
if you reshape everything all the time, over and over and over and over and over and over, to the point where you're like, beep this, I'm tired of doing it. But once you say that, you're going to have a rough time, people.
Yeah.
You need to constantly reshape, reframe, and the more that you do it, the better your life's going to be because you'll automatically, instantly do it. I'm such a different person today than I was a year ago. And when I look at who I was 8 years ago,
Yeah.
way different. And
Mm-hmm.
James Clear talks about this with his compounding habits, right? 1% better a day does not mean 300% in 300 days. It's some absurd number. You're
Mm-hmm.
up into the millions, and that's where it gets crazy because all of this stuff is really shaping you. Like, it's something absurd. Like, every year, every single cell in our body has been regenerated. So you can ask yourself, which version of me am I gonna build? I mean, I'm reading a book right now called It Didn't Start With You by Mark Woolen, and it talks about how family trauma can be inherited from previous generations. So basically, it can cover up to 3 generations. If something happened to my great grandparents, could have been passed to my dad, which passed to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in our DNA. Like, what kind of DNA are we building? Because
Mm-hmm.
your DNA is basically the structure but then your cells have information in them, which is totally mind-blowing, because this book, It Didn't Start With You, outlines how people that are having mental breakdowns and say, I want to incinerate myself, like I just want to burn. Well, lo and behold, guess what? Their grandparents survived the Holocaust or experienced something from the Holocaust. There's stories in this book about somebody's great grandparent drowning, and he wakes up at 3 o'clock every single morning with this fear that comes over him. And you trace it back, and it's like, oh, hey, it was your your great grandparent died at this time. And so these family traumas are wrapped up in our cells. That's out there. I'm sorry if that's out there for you, but that's the reality of this world that we live in. Is we're constantly building something. And as parents that weren't mindful back then, but we're mindful now, what are we building? Because I got into this book to be like, okay, how am I screwing my children up? And how am I screwing up the future generations? And that's what it is over and over. You're like, well, bomb that one. You know, a lot of our family trauma is inherited in those first few years where we can't talk. We're simply absorbing. And so that environment dictates a lot of who we become later in life, because we can't explore, your dad hitting mom when we're one. We just take it in and be like, and we have no way of doing that, because the book also explains that, like, if we have an experience and we don't feel the emotion, like if we suppress it, that emotion is then stored in the body. If you don't take the time to be like, I'm fucking pissed, and like go through it, or be like, this hurts, it hurts me, my bones hurt, everything hurts. If you don't experience it and experience what that feeling is telling you, you're going to store it. And then once you store it, it's going to come out eventually, probably in a way that you don't want.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy book. If you're into anything like that, I would seriously recommend it. It's been one of the most entertaining reads I've read in a long time. Which circles us all the way back around to the beginning of our talk about school. We are the creators of our children's belief system. One thing that I've found is that the school's belief system doesn't match our belief system. So what do you think that actually does for us?
Well, it definitely makes things more challenging. And you're
What's
right.
3 positives that it does for us?
It makes us stop and think about problem solving. How can we overcome this obstacle? We're teaching our children one thing, and we are just a small unit, and the school is teaching a completely different thing, which is a much bigger unit. So we've got our belief systems that we're trying to install in our children, or help guide them to the belief system. And we've got literally hundreds of people in one other unity that's going against it. So I guess for us, it would be overcoming that outer environment, that outer.
Okay, that's one.
Yes. Sorry.
We need two more.
I'm tired.
Pull it out.
I'm trying. I really wish I had more sleep last night. Help me out here, hon.
Okay. So you outlined how their priorities are different than ours.
Yes.
They're still good.
They are.
They're still awesome. They're still amazing. Now, here's a simple fact. The two nations that have the highest educational success in the world also have the highest rates of suicide.
Yeah.
So, our beliefs aren't theirs. Their beliefs aren't bad, but if we raise children that firmly believe that their educational success represents themselves, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So here's what it does for me. Number one, I have to know what is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. What's important to me? Number two, who are they and what's important to them? So I got two things right there. So what else could you do with those two? We could take those two
and find a
and
good
say,
mesh.
Become aware.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have everything wrapped up in a circle of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're getting hounded at school for their failure in math or their failure in writing or their failure in this, and that creates a problem for them there, hopefully they'll come talk to me.
Yeah.
And we can talk about what is important to you. Does this matter to you in your life? Does it matter to me? No, your student success doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because what it tells me is if you're bombing in this, it's likely because it's something you don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
What I really hope the whole thing does now for everybody is to realize that awareness about yourself, what's important to you, how you feel when things happen, how you learn, all these things, I hope everybody can take this time and grow from it. Right? There's two ways you can approach a problem. It's a problem or it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And this whole thing's been a giant opportunity for me to become a little more clear on what's important to me and their outcome. And it's hard for me to hear, oh, well, they're going to get annoyed at that. Oh, yeah, sure. I'm not going to get annoyed. It's easy for me to say, look, I care about who they are as a person. I care about their life well beyond 18 for high school or 22 for college. Because guess what? The average age now is up into the 80s.
Yeah.
So this little thing that's such it creates such a level of frustration and pain and a development of somebody who doesn't feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
That's hurting them way longer than it's helping them. I don't care. You can't write now. Okay, you got 80 years. But unfortunately, this generation of children is the first generation to actually see their average lifespan reduce.
Yeah.
So what's the actual real important thing? Is it knowing when to use a semicolon, a dash, a comma? Or is it more important to know that if you don't exercise, if you don't eat right, if you don't sleep, if you don't breathe right, if you don't take care of yourself, your destination is trauma, pain, depression.
In a short life.
So I'm way outside the scope of normal reality.
Yeah.
But my focus is to be a good soul.
Not right now.
I mean, I heard it this week again, and I think it's an awesome deal. Our life on planet Earth is sort of a training ground for our soul. If you're into a Christian back type philosophy, you are a good soul, you're going to heaven. If you're a bad one, you're going to hell. If you're more of into a universe type mentality, if you're a good soul, you take the training from here and you go out into the bigger grand scheme of things. That's what's ultimately important, is living a life of virtue, being a good dude or girl or gal,
Soul.
being a good soul, and taking that experience everywhere you go.
Yeah.
It's not exactly about, man, you're really good at writing a paper, weren't you?
How are you going to use that out in the
Yeah.
universe when you're gone?
It depends. If you're a writer, you better know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? But that, like, the people who are writers are drawn to that because that's what they love.
Yeah.
People that are awesome at crafting things, that's what they love. They could do it all day. They don't care. They don't need a teacher hounding them.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things. We could meander about this forever, but I hope that what I've outlined and what Holly's outlined is that there's things a little bit bigger than school. So if you're one of the folks with your kids home, you might want to take this opportunity that's likely never to come again.
Yeah.
And actually do something positive with it.
And that's kind of what I've been trying to view it as an opportunity. At first, everything happened like so quickly in our lives. My dad passed away on March 9th on a Monday. That following Friday, we were told that the school is going to be shut down. And it was like everything just collapsed all at once. And so I very quickly and very easily went into like a frantic negative state of mind. But as I and then as things continue to shut down around me, it's like, oh, you're in charge of your dad's estate. And it's like, oh, the courthouse is shut down. But now I have all these creditors and everything asking me, how are you going to pay for this $9,000 bill here, this bill over here, the hospital, the ambulance? You got to get your kids on a school schedule. And it was bad for the first month. Like the first month was, I was getting better and better. And, you know, you were helping coaching me through it. And we were you were reminding me of what our fundamentals here at home are and how the outside world doesn't necessarily, they could wait.
Correct.
Let's focus on what our fundamentals are, what we want our kids to learn, and to take this time, and instead of continuing to stress out about it, look at it from the angle of, this is our opportunity to possibly, I mean, one of our kids has talked about homeschooling, wanted to be homeschooled. It's like, now this is the time to take that opportunity to see just how real that is. What's the realistic of this being able to get accomplished? How is this child going to be able to respond to what needs to be done? And to support that as being a possible future thing. You know, right now is the time to take opportunity to challenge a lot of different things and to focus on your true fundamentals. How would you, this is a time to say, okay, instead of I have my kids at home and I have to do this. Okay, yes, you have your kids at home. You can do this now. You can try this out. You can try that out. You can explore other options now.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time to actually do it.
Yeah, it's
Instead,
fantastic.
yeah. It took me a long time to get into that mind frame, but once you get there and you start doing the work, it gets easier and easier with anything. You know, you got your philosophy, and then you've got your practice, and then you got your mastery. So you just keep on going. You just,
yeah, we're almost at an hour here, but if you looked at where you're at now with teaching the kids, are you teaching them based upon your style and the style that works here? Or are you teaching them based upon what they would have experienced at the school environment?
I'm trying to take the best of both worlds and mash them together. So I know that there is a minimum requirement. And as much as teachers have been, some of them have been coming on me saying, hey, you know, you're barely making the minimum requirements and we want to see more. I've been standing up and saying, you know what? My kids have been through a trauma. They lost their grandparents, their granddad, and their school system all in 1 week. Their lives were completely turned upside down, fumbled over, and right now their mental and emotional state is more important to me than their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. So I've been trying to get them back on track. Hey, you know what? These are some of the things that are kind of important. You know, what can we do to make it fun while you're learning? I'm not teaching them the exact way that the teachers do. I'm taking this opportunity to teach our children the way that they naturally learn, and I'm exploring that with them. So it's a mix of both worlds. You know, they're still meeting the requirements that they need to. I'm not necessarily teaching them the way that the school district does, where it's all one way or nothing at all. You'll eventually catch up. And I'm also implementing our values into it. Okay, so let's explore why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. Why is this such a big challenge for you? What can we do to overcome this challenge? I'm taking both worlds and I'm kind of meshing them together. So,
well, one of the greatest lines I've heard in a long time was quality coaches charge so much money because when they take on a client, they're not only giving them the knowledge that they have, they're also committing to gaining the knowledge that is required to see that client progress towards where they need to be. And that's really how I feel about this whole thing and this whole moment and this whole opportunity. You have an opportunity in your hands to not only take it as an opportunity, but to tell yourself and to tell the kids or tell the world, okay, I'm willing to take this on And I'm, more importantly, willing to grow with you
Mm-hmm.
so that we all end up where we want to be.
Yeah.
And that's really been one of the greatest things when the kids have kind of pushed back on me. It's like, I'm helping you. I'm in the process of learning. They can constantly see me reading a book.
Yeah.
And that's one of the easiest things to hit me on is like they're
Mm-hmm.
constantly like, you're just always learning. Yeah, that's the point, man.
Yeah. But
That's
you know,
the
and that's
point.
like
I don't know
that's part of the big
everything.
differences between uh you and me as level 2 coach and me level 1, so you entering level 2 and me entering level 1, is you've already got your self mastery pretty much in a solid.
Yeah, it's
I
a
mean, we're
hell of a lot
constantly
more
evolving
consistent.
and changing, but you've got your basic fundamentals completely nailed down and you practice them on a daily basis. And I'm still reconnecting with myself.
Yep.
So for me, some of these other challenges, and like you can hear it in our videos as we talk, you know, it takes me longer to explain things and to gather my thoughts because I'm trying to get to that other part of the coaching program where you're, you know, helping others. But right now, I'm at a different place than a lot of people. Well, we all are kind of at different places and levels when we first start this program. And for me, it's coming all the way back down to the very basic fundamentals of who Holly is. So that's where, you know, I really wish there are some days I really wish that we could trade places and you could be the one that stays home and works with the kids in the school and stuff, because you've got it down pretty darn pat. And I'm still kind of, I feel like I'm still kind of hovering. I'm still kind of floating. I'm still kind of floating around trying to get things figured out myself. And so I'm having a hard time being able to completely be there for everyone else. And it's funny because there is such a big difference. You can visually see it, you can physically feel it, just in the way that the two of us handle some situations differently. You know, like we said last week, you kind of you rock it at dealing with the big things and taking them on. Your weaker points is some of the smaller things. You can get tension built up very quickly over small things, but I'm completely opposite. So we complement each other very well in those areas.
No, I think it's awesome.
I do too.
All right. No, nobody's ever on the same level, really, because what I found after a year's worth of doing optimize and working on myself and getting my protocols down and getting this down, I gained a really clear picture of who I was, right? And so last year, I was not only doing the optimized thing, but I took a couple leadership courses. I went through a leadership course at work. So I was constantly working on my vision, on my mission statement, what I'm here to do. And I knew that I was here to help. I didn't know in what way or how. And I forgot who said it, but they said, hey, look, a great man's life. Oh, it was spoken to John Kennedy. Oh, I wish I knew her name. Anyways, she was an advisor to John Kennedy, and she said, hey, look, a great man's life is summarized in one sentence. So jokingly / whatever, you know, I said, hey, I want to be the Quickie Mart of health. Quickie Mart's a little Simpsons reference there. I want somebody to be able to come to me and I can heal them mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Now, when you get down to that, it makes a lot of the things in the world really easy to say, nope, that don't fit what I'm after.
Yeah.
And Optimize fits a ton of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm really going to be able to help everybody the way that I said that I was going to, I needed some other things. And that's what I found in the Czech Institute. First time I heard Paul Czech, he's talking to plants and trees and seeing information from the sun. It was like, oh, just the same thing that happened with Optimize. It was like, holy beep. Brian doesn't cuss, and I know I cussed, and I'm trying to keep it clear. So you can insert whatever word you want there. But it was just one of those holy beep moments of like, that's it. And going through just their level 1 of holistic health, it's like it complements Optimize so well, because Optimize is about getting you right. Well, so is the Czech Institute. It's just more focused on your health choice compared to Optimize, which is just this gigantic collection of tools that's been so well constructed by Brian and Michael and everybody at Team Optimize, that when I ran into Optimize, it was literally one of those things that's like, well, I've been looking for this for years.
Yeah.
You can read a book, you can listen to these dudes, and they touch on little things, or they get into this, or they get into that. It's cool, but then you try to integrate it into your life, and you nosedive because there's not a process or a structure to support the tool.
And Optimize does, as much as they give that same knowledge, they give you the tools to practice it. I mean, they have all these modules and worksheets, and they want you to actually practice it. They're not just giving you the knowledge, they're making you do it. Yep. They're making you go through the steps of it. And that makes all the difference, because you can give somebody all the information in the world, but unless you actually have them go through the steps and teach them the steps to work the philosophy, it doesn't mean anything. It's just knowledge. Yeah. So I like that. That's like my favorite part of Optimize, is they've taken all of that knowledge and they're making you actually experience it through going through the motions and practicing it. Yep. So way to go, Optimize. You guys are awesome. We love it.
Okay, well, we're over an hour now, and I'm right there with what Holly said. If you're into getting going on being the best version of you so that you can give that best version to the rest of the world, Optimize is one of the best places to do it. That's not a joke. Mm-mm. I've been into self-help industry stuff for over 8 years. In fact, it's, well over 8 years. Mm-hmm. I needed it the most a month after our second son was born, and he's almost 9. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's when it started for me, and I found Optimize a year ago, and it was literally one of those click moments. It was a no-brainer. It was a next step. If you're going to invest into anything this year or next, seriously, check out Optimize. It's absolutely amazing. It's easy to sell a product when it's real and it's functional and it's useful. If you got any questions, let me know. Let Holly know. Get a hold of Optimize. We're a long format show, so if you're still with us, thank you. Because some of the greatest conversations come through meandering.
Yes.
And if you're here, thank you. If you checked out at 15, 20 minutes, thank you. If you showed up for 2, if you're still there 2, thank you. Because we're here to help. Optimize is here to make your life the best it's ever been. So let's do it. Go team. All right. Let it go.
It's still recording.
Wait, we're still recording? Man, I'm so glad I didn't say anything
End meeting,
stupid.
my love.
Oh man, I just said over an hour of stupid crap.